Well, that's certainly a big issue, especially if you're preparing audit services. On the flip side, you have to make sure that you're even able to do those and still remain independent of the audit itself. I think the most difficult thing for us is because we get a lot of requests for sample engagement letters. It's a lot of people are doing consulting services and they have a hard time expressing to me exactly what those services are going to be. So if it's hard to orally say that or to put that in an email because they need a sample copy of that type of engagement, then it's going to be even more difficult to pin down those services in an engagement letter with your client, and also to have your client understand what the final report will look like. So I guess the consulting services, because they are so broad in nature, it makes it a lot more difficult to pin down exactly what those services are and what you will be providing them once you turn over that final report. Consulting is just kind of, it runs the gamut. We haven't seen that many large type claims. We've certainly had consulting engagement services in which we've been sued, and a lot of times part of the reason that they're difficult to defend is because there was no engagement letter, that was obtained prior to the start of the engagement. So there probably was a large expectation gap between what the client thought they were going to get and what the CPA provided. And it's also probably the CPA may have overpromised what that report might look like when they were done. You just have to be very careful that, especially if you're providing consulting services, maybe you're doing some sort of valuation engagement. You don't want to tell the client that you're doing, you're providing a valuation engagement, but yet when you turn over the report, that it fell beneath the standards. That the valuation engagement, the only time you mention valuation is possibly during your billing or your time coding. So again, and that's another thing. While I mentioned it, you want to make sure that your coding for when you're doing your time for this engagement corresponds with the engagement letter too. You don't want to say that you're providing a valuation engagement when all you were doing was just running a few numbers, maybe some present value calculations or something like that. Or if you were doing a compilation and one of your partners came in and did a review, he had review in his timesheets. You want to make sure those timesheets correspond with the engagement. But that's it. It's just we haven't had a lot. I guess most of the consultant engagements have been maybe centered around computer type environments where our guys go in and they recommend some type of computer software. They tell the firm that they're going to be able to install it and it's going to work, do whatever the firm wants them to do. And then, of course, when they turn on the computer and the software doesn't perform as expected, that causes another problem. I actually think just having the ability to provide those services. I don't want to say that people are greedy, but people are greedy. And you want to provide 100% client satisfaction. So, but in some cases, some consulting services, I think the CPA needs to be willing to tell the client that you just don't have the staff or you don't have the expertise to provide those types of services, but you do know someone, maybe a friendly competitor there in town, that you'd recommend to have them do those services. I think that's when CPAs get in trouble with quite a few of these engagements, is maybe just taking on one that they're just not qualified to do.